Welcome to Let's Be Briefed. I'm Sarah,
And I'm Sydney.
and today we're going to kick off spooky season with our own personal ghost stories. So, either stories that we have ourselves or like from family members. So I'll go first. Mine, so I only have one ghost story that could be potentially a ghost story. Like, my whole family has stories. Like, every single person in my family has a bunch of stories that they could say, and I just have maybe one. So I'm going to start with that one because it's less impressive. Uh, but I was in high school and I was just like, I think it was like on a Saturday, and I know like my house I grew up in was super small, so like I could hear the living room TV from my room. But I was just like sitting and watching stuff like in my room, and then I heard a voice, and it sounded like a little boy, and it sounded like where he said like, "Hi, how are you?" But it sounded like the voice, like in a haunting where it like has the ghost like voice, quote unquote, where it's like echoey.
Yeah.
Like it sounded like that.
Ooh.
So I thought my dad was watching a haunting because he watched it a lot, and I was like, oh, maybe it echoed from the living room. So I muted my stuff, and he was watching like something else, like unrelated. And so I was like, well, that's weird. And then once I turned my TV back, like from mute to sound, then like a book fell off of my bookshelf.
Wait, I don't think I've ever heard this. I thought you always say that you don't have any ghost
I don't
stories.
consider it a ghost story. Because, like, my books, okay, so I had so many books, and I only had two shelves, so, like, they were, like, packed and packed of books, and then, like, like, two layers of books, and then books, like, standing upright, like, against the books, too. So it's like maybe it just, like, gravity finally, like, fell over, like, that book. So it's like,
Oh my god, but still.
yeah. So that's the only one that I have that could maybe be a ghost story, but I just convinced myself that it was probably like nothing.
I don't think it's nothing.
Yeah, well, that house is gone now, so I don't think we have ghosts anymore. All the stories I have are from that house.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Actually, one is from, we'll get to it later. One's different, but yeah.
Okay, well, I guess it's my turn.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, very fast.
yeah, that's okay though. So the building that I work in was abandoned for 15 years. I believe. Maybe, you know what? Don't take anything I'm saying as fact because it's all been told to me secondhand and I don't really trust the people that told me this stuff. So if anyone's other fact checking me, go fuck yourself because I don't know. Don't wreck the story. But the building had been abandoned for 15 years before the company I worked for moved into it. And when they moved in, they initially had this receptionist that worked there. And maybe that's relevant, maybe that's not. People seem to think it is. But they've always thought that the building that I worked in was haunted. And like some of the things that my coworkers have experienced, because this was way before I started working there, but people have seen like a woman in a dress, that
Oh.
a woman in white
Oh,
at
okay,
the
white
top of the
dress.
stairs. Yeah.
I feel like it's always a woman in white.
I know. Maybe ghosts only wear white. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But
Or black.
I know, yeah, that one has been seen a few times.
Oh.
And I know another thing that's happened was our cubicles used to be out in like the center of like a really large room. And for reference, the AC in that room sucks and there are no vents where the cubicles were before I even say it. But there's offices around the perimeter of the room with windows that face into the main room. And one time, one of my coworkers had like a large plant on his desk, and the plant was just like waving erratically for like 45 minutes. It was just
What?
going and no one knew why.
45 minutes. That's so
That might be an
long.
exaggeration, but even
Well,
10
still,
minutes,
yeah, that's
like it
long.
was longer than just someone brushed it and it
Yeah.
like stopped. Or like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't stop for a while and it was going pretty crazy.
Wow.
My other coworker, one of the people who's like in one of the offices, was working late one night and he had like the lights in the main room were off and the lights in his office were on and he heard like a gravelly voice in his ear
Oh my gosh.
and then kind of out of his like peripheral vision saw something move across the reflection of the
Oh,
window and like initially he thought that it was something out in the main room but he realized that it was the reflection because it was dark out there and light in there and that whatever he
yeah,
saw was like in the room with him
that's
and he
crazy.
literally got up and left the building and didn't even take his computer like he just left.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would do the same.
Yeah. And other people, like part of the building that we're in, like the upstairs part is still like a little bit abandoned. Like we just use it for storage and over the years they've like taken parts from that part of the building and used them in other parts. So none of the lights work. It's pretty scary and it's a little bit sketchy. But there is a copy machine back there for the longest time, and anytime anyone would go back there, all the hair on their arms would stand up in like one specific spot.
Oh, yeah.
And I still don't like going back there, maybe because it's creepy, maybe because they've all like told me all this stuff, but
Right.
it
Yeah.
definitely like has an energy. And then I know one time I'm the only girl that works in like that area. The rest of them are all men. And one time my boss thought he heard me like cry out like I had like hit something or like hurt myself, but it wasn't me.
Yeah,
And
that's
like it clearly came from like the upstairs, like down the creepy hallway, but I was
um,
not even in the area. I was sitting at my desk at the time.
yeah,
And
that's
he said,
crazy.
"Wait, I thought you were back in the back rooms." And I was like, "No, I've been here the whole time."
Wow.
So there's that. And I guess like things would move all of the time. Like lights would be on that were turned off, doors would be
Mhm.
open that were closed. A lot more when that receptionist worked there. Like it was definitely more active when she was there and she would come in and tell stories about like she woke up and all of her kitchen cabinets were open and everything was taken out of
No.
them. All of her drawers would be opened and her clothes would be everywhere. And
No. So I was following her probably.
yeah. And they even like had the police come and investigate to see if someone was living in the
Uh,
building
yeah.
because they like could not figure out why all of this stuff was happening and the police said that there was no evidence that a person was living there.
Wow.
So after that they had a paranormal team come in and check it out. And the paranormal team, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but they said that there's definitely something there.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
now, yeah, it is crazy. It's
Yeah.
scary.
Right.
But now, whenever we talk about the ghost, all of our computers start acting up. Like, if we don't
What?
talk about it, everything's fine. But when we do talk about it, our computers, like, my monitors will start flashing and look crazy. And
Oh my
everyone else has
God.
issues with their computers. Or, like, our CAD tables get weird. And it's only ever when we talk about the ghost.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And we even set up cameras in some of the rooms that well, first of all, just so that we know who's going in and out of them, but we have a few cameras placed around the rooms that we don't go into as often. And again, take this with a grain of salt, but we've seen like some pretty interesting movement on the cameras. Nothing specific, but every once in a while there's like what might be a dust speck or an orb that moves in a way that doesn't really make any sense, or like the lights flash but clearly the lights didn't turn on and nothing else in the room, like the room lit
Right.
up but
Yeah, that's
nothing would have caused that, and we would have known like it in a way that we would definitely know, like the lights didn't turn on, none of the doors opened, nothing happened, the room just lit up, and maybe that's just the camera doing something, but it happens often enough that we like keep an eye on it.
yeah.
So yeah, I work in a haunted
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, that's
And I
crazy.
definitely think that something is there, but I almost wonder like the receptionist seemed to believe that whatever it was attached to her.
Right.
So I wonder if like whatever that was like more attached to her, but obviously could do whatever in the building, and that there are maybe other spirits in there that just aren't as like active as that one, but it probably all kind of fed off of each other.
Yeah, probably.
Now I'm making stuff up, but but she really believed that it was like her and it would follow her around and
Yeah,
like
I think
wreak
belief is
havoc.
part of it though.
Yeah.
Like you could make it so if you believe so hard. Like for
Yeah, and
her,
well, it doesn't help that my coworkers like to play pranks on each other. Like
uh,
someone used spray adhesive to stencil out footprints on the
oh,
floor, but you couldn't see them right away until people walked over them a ton and all the dirt stuck to it.
right.
So it's like little girl feet on the ground. I mean, little kid. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy, but kid feet on the ground. And it's still
Yeah.
there, and it
Oh,
still freaks me out.
yeah, that doesn't help. Reminds me of, oh,
Go ahead.
it reminds me of like, because were you there when Doug said he saw the rack move in our lab, like up here?
No.
Maybe that was, well, did you leave before him? I feel like
No.
you were
Yes, yes, I
around,
did
but
leave
yeah, you
before
left
him.
before him, but I don't know if it happened because it was only like 2 months that he was there. But he said, well, I think it was like no one else was there but him and Jerry. Like, so maybe it was early or something. But he was like doing something at one of the counters, and Jerry was like crushing, so his back was to everything. And then Doug like saw the rack move, like the rack by the computer,
Yes.
like where we always put it back there. He saw it like swing, like one end like swung out as if someone like grabbed that end and like pulled it out. And like he was like staring at it, and he said something, probably said like what the fuck or something, and Jerry like turned around and saw it and like thought Doug pranked him or something. And then when he saw Doug's face, he said like no, that was real.
Oh my god.
But I think that's the only one we really have of that lab, but
Wow.
I always said the lab ghost after that. There's a lab ghost.
I bet there was.
Yeah, I don't know how old the building is, so.
I don't think that old.
Well, it wasn't new when they moved there, was it?
Right. I mean,
They
I
moved
guess
like
that's
20
true.
years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, spooky.
Work ghosts. The best kind of ghosts because they stay there.
Yeah. Wow. Is that it?
I mean, I guess. I should
Okay.
have asked them for more clarification on some of these stories because I'm
Oh,
sure there are a lot more, but I guess moral of this story is my work is definitely haunted.
yeah. Yeah, some of the videos you've sent me are like very weird.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I have another one from the house, the old house that we grew up in. But this is my brother's story. So this is like from my memory how I remember the story because I didn't ask him to update it. He just said he it freaked him out so much, so he didn't.